putting everything in proper context is important because right now people are just so caught up in, like you say, opinion, belief, whatever it is that where we're coming from. So sometimes it's hard for us, as they say, how can black folks come together? How can we come together? These are tools that allow us to be able to come together because one key term with culture, there are two key things that are going to fall in line with this, what we're talking about. And that's form and function, right, which B brought up, which is form follows function. So everything, like the main tool that scientists use is form and function. Like you guys look this up. You're dealing with any aspect of biology, any type of biology, you're dealing with science. The first concept that you're dealing with is form and function. So form follows function. So if you know how something functions, you'll know what something is, right? So right now, everybody's how we call it materialism, and people are so caught up in what something looks like without understanding the process and how it's made, right? So that's just like in this capitalist society, it has so many consumers and having no producers. And that it came from us not understanding form and function, us understanding the process of things that create the shape or create the physical nature or the manifestation of that which began from nothing or that which began from a thought. So the process of taking from nothing to something and understanding that nothing is also something too, right? So, but we understand what something is by knowing the process of what it came from, which is functionality. So we know what something is by how it functions, not by what it looks like. And that was an ancient African-centered principle, and it was in our spiritual system. Like even when you look at, the ancient, the Neteru, ancient Egypt, the Ifa, the Orishas, things of that nature. When you look at ancient African spirituality, a lot of their deities, they weren't real people, but they represented different aspects, functions of nature, psychological dispositions and things of that. So, like even the spiritual systems in our ancient past, incorporated this very simple scientific method that's used to do any and everything that we know of today. So this authentic technology created this artificial technology that we have today. But for us to get back to us being the kings and queens and us being the producers, we got to get back to that authentic intelligence that we had at one time, that authentic technology that we had at that time. So that's my brother Chuck. You don't get into that part, and I'll be done. So form and function was a tool, and culture. Okay, yeah, shared intentionality. We done with this, right? So shared intentionality, that's the backbone of culture. So with Crown's Cultural Conversations, right, there's a term called shared intentionality, and it comes through something called matrilineality. We might deal with that a little bit when we get to the part about law of gender. But shared intentionality is when you pretty much we're connected through intentions, not necessarily just through our actions, right? So like some people might see the color wheel, the culture wheel, and see how culture everything is a part of culture, right? So subculture are the different aspects of your culture. So, you have religion, you have language, you have architecture, science, all these different aspects, any and everything that people do is a part of their culture. So sometimes people say music, well, that's our culture, but sometimes people describe subculture as culture when it's really just subculture. But the basis of culture is not the things that we actually do. That's what we get judged by, but it's the intentions, it's our intent. That's what our true culture is, right? So as long as we have the same, us being connected to values and principles, and having the same intent, regardless, because we're not going to be able to do the same thing. That's what makes us beautiful and unique and diverse, because we all do so many different things. So I can't do what Brother Bars does. He can't do what Brother Joe does. But if our intent is the same, if our end goal is the same when it comes to the principles and things that we all hold dear, like our values and how we value and how we move on certain principles, then that's what brings us together. So these tools are just tools that we use no matter what your background, no matter your religion, no matter what your discipline. If you talking about entrepreneurship, if you talking about raising a family, we talking about raising a community. These are some great tools for that. And I land with this, you might have heard people talk about hermeneutics when they're going into theology school or seminary school, and the ethos, the pathos, and logos, right? The hermeneutics also, these tools right here are literally supposed to be the context analysis tools for pastors or preachers, for them to be able to identify and interpret text. So these are originally, no matter what your faith is, all Abrahamic faiths, a lot of them, they're dealing with the Hermetics and hermeneutics. And these are the actual universal laws and principles that most people don't even know about, that, basically they go to church or all these different religions. But these are the tools that they use to interpret the mysteries of these texts, right? So I'm gonna give y'all these are the short definitions. They're all in this book, Ancient Future. Yeah, Ancient Future. Yeah, the principle of mentalism is that all is mind, the universe is mental. This principle embodies the truth that the all or God is mind. It explains that the all is a substantial reality underlying all the visible manifestations and appearances that we categorize as a material universe. Matter, energy, and all that is apparent to our material senses. This entity, the all, is pure spirit, which is unknowable and undefinable, but is regarded in the most ancient traditions as a universal, infinite, living mind. Human beings, in futile attempts to describe the all, attribute to it characteristics that fall within the realm of what is comfortable and comprehensible. This is theology, the assigning of human qualities to the supreme in order to comprehend the incomprehensible. Thus, the all is always depicted as a man, God, the Father, and is actually given a personality. In reality, this axiom explains that the universe is a mental creation of the all. That is to say, the all is everything and everything is the all. This principle also explains the true nature of energy, power, and matter, and how these are subordinate to the mastery of the mind. And that is principle of mentalism. Principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. This axiom explicates the constant correspondence that exists between the various planes of life, whether recognized or not. When we perceive our solar system, vast and mystifying, with the sun at its center and the planets in orbit around the sun, we may acknowledge the same patterns on a much smaller scale. The atom with the nucleus at its core, and the protons and electrons and neutrons, which, like the planets, orbit around the nucleus. The understanding of this law provides a key to unlocking the enigma of the multi-dimensional reality in which we exist mentally, materially, and spiritually. All right, the next principle, which brother gonna go over briefly, is the principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. This principle embodies the truth that everything is in constant motion. Whether this motion is perceivable is irrelevant. For this law affirms that everything vibrates and that nothing is ever at rest. Modern science may not attest to this fact, but it should be kept in mind that this fact was known thousands of years ago in ancient Kemet and India. The higher the vibration, the higher the form or entity that exists within that particular frequency. Therefore, the vibrational connection between some of the grosser forms of matter, such as a rock and a human being, is very great. Spirit has the highest vibrational frequency, vibrating at such a phenomenal speed that it seems to be at rest, just as a rapidly moving wheel seems to be motionless. It is said that those practitioners of the Hermetic teachings who are able to grasp this principle will be able to, with the appropriate formulas, control their own mental vibrations as well as those of others. Or as stated by one of the old masters, he who understands the principle of vibration has grabbed the scepter of power. Alright, so we're talking there real quick. Well, I'll explain this real quick. I'll go past that. Basically saying the same thing, that everything is constantly moving. Nothing is at rest. So like how we even use the term like vibing or what's the vibration. Like there's a frequency to every single thing. Like literally all energy, everything that we see is electromagnetic energy. Like everything in existence is what we consider to be electromagnetic energy. And even when we get into the principle of polarity and gender, which come next, it's a lesson to be learned even with that electromagnetic energy. Since everything is electromagnetic, magnetism, right, is what causes electricity, right? But magnetism also corresponds in the law of correspondence with feminine energy, which is like a passive force or the unseen energy, right? But electricity corresponds with masculine energy, right? Which is an active force, or that feels like just like in a man, we got this physical strength, we can feel material, like how we, most cases how we born. But most women, they're born with that intuition or emotional intelligence or what have you. They get at a young age that we have to develop and find. So that's also a strength too. But we tend to not look at emotional stuff or the things you can't see as quote unquote strength. So those vibrations aren't recognized a lot of times. We don't recognize the vibrations that come in unseen, but technology is dependent on that. Like even with us using the internet or using these radio waves, these signals and things that we don't see, you know, that's a real vibration. That's a real frequency. So it's the same thing with us as individuals, and everything that we see, everything has a vibration, everything has a frequency. Everything that we see right now that comes from any has a material, whatever, is vibrating. So just understanding that in terms of vibration is very important, because then we'll also understand the fact that everything is constantly moving too. So although we may be, you know, standing still or what have you, everything is moving. So it's up to us to align ourselves with that which is already moving, rather than us feeling like everything else has to come to us, right? So that's the balance, you know, that's the balance in that.
I've been official, big dog in the yard, voted most likely to murder every birthday I start.